You pour a little dried fruit over your breakfast. It feels like the responsible choice. Sweet, natural, convenient. That quiet health halo makes you feel like you are doing something right. Then a few weeks later, your blood pressure reading is higher again. Not dramatically, just enough to make your doctor raise an eyebrow. And you are left thinking, how is this happening when I am eating fruit? If you are over 60, that question matters more than most people realize. At this stage, your arteries are less flexible. Your kidneys do not handle fluid shifts as efficiently, and your body reacts more sharply to concentrated sugar than it did 20 years ago. That means a food that looks harmless on the package can hit your system very differently now. And here is the surprise. The problem is almost never fresh fruit. It is the form. I am Dr. Kevin Adewale. On this channel, we break down health in a calm, practical way that fits real life. If you want clear, evidence-based tips for staying strong and independent as you age, subscribe now and stay with me. A lot of you are probably wondering, does this mean fruit is suddenly bad after 60? No. Whole fruit can still be one of the best things on your plate. What we are really talking about is the version that gets marketed as clean and smart, but can quietly work against your blood pressure when portions drift, labels mislead, and your body becomes more sensitive with age. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to watch for, what to replace, and how to enjoy fruit without making your numbers harder to control. Reason 1. The sugar gets concentrated fast. This is where most of the confusion begins. Fresh fruit comes with water. That water takes up space, slows you down, and helps you feel full before you eat too much. Dried fruit is the opposite. Once the water is removed, the natural sugar becomes packed into a much smaller amount of food. A small handful of raisins, dates, or sweetened dried cranberries can deliver the sugar of several pieces of fruit in just a few bites. Now, sugar itself does not automatically raise blood pressure the way sodium does, but concentrated sugar can still push things in the wrong direction. Here is how it works. When you eat a dense load of sugar quickly, your blood glucose rises fast. Blood glucose is simply the sugar circulating in your bloodstream. Your body responds by releasing insulin, the hormone that moves sugar out of the blood and into your cells. Over time, frequent spikes wear that system down. Your body becomes less responsive to insulin. That is called insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is strongly linked to weight gain, inflammation, and higher blood pressure. Here is what makes this so tricky in real life. Dried fruit never feels like dessert. It feels like a health snack. You sprinkle it on oatmeal, toss it into yogurt, eat it straight from a pouch in the car. The portion looks tiny in your hand, so your brain assumes the impact is tiny too. But your body does not judge by volume. It responds to the total sugar load. And after 60, many adults already wake up with slightly elevated stress hormones, less muscle mass to absorb glucose, and a metabolism that is simply less forgiving. The same snack that barely bothered you at 40 can noticeably nudge your numbers now. Think about the last time you felt proud for choosing the healthy option at the store. Was it really as gentle on your body as it looked? Most people hear that fruit is good for the heart and stop the conversation there. That message is mostly true for whole fruit. But when fruit is dried, concentrated, and easy to overeat, the picture changes. Ignore that long enough, and the result may be gradual weight gain around the middle, poorer blood sugar control, and more strain on blood vessels that are already aging. Stay with me, because the next reason explains why some dried fruit products are even more misleading than most people think. Reason 2. Packaged dried fruit often comes with hidden extras. A lot of dried fruit sold in stores is not just dried fruit. It may be sweetened, preserved, flavored, or coated to make it taste brighter and last longer on the shelf. Dried cranberries are a classic example. Many versions have added sugar because the fruit is naturally tart. Dried mango, pineapple, papaya, and fruit mixes are often sweetened too. Others contain more sodium than you would ever expect, especially seasoned mixes or products blended with nuts, roasted seeds, or flavor powders. Why does that matter for blood pressure? Because now you are not just dealing with concentrated natural sugar. You may also be adding refined sugar and sodium, the mineral that raises blood pressure by pulling more water into the bloodstream. That extra fluid makes the heart work harder and puts more pressure on artery walls. After 60, many people become more salt sensitive. That means blood pressure rises more easily in response to sodium, even in smaller amounts. And this can happen in very ordinary situations. You buy a fruit and nut mix for convenience. You keep it in the car. A few bites here, a few bites there across the day. It seems harmless because there is no candy bar, no fries, no soda. But by evening, you may have eaten several servings without realizing it. The sweetness keeps you reaching in. The salt makes it more craveable. And the front of the label still whispers the same comforting word, fruit. Here is what most doctors do not explain clearly enough. Labels can say, made with real fruit or no cholesterol, and still completely hide the bigger issue: how concentrated and processed the product has actually become. Not every bag is a problem, but enough of them are that you cannot assume safety from the word natural alone. Let that sink in for a second. Most people miss this because they never flip the package over. Or they do, but they only check calories. They forget to look at added sugar, serving size, and sodium. If that pattern continues, the long-term effect is not just a few extra snacks. It becomes a daily habit that keeps blood pressure harder to manage, especially if you already have prediabetes, carry extra weight, or retain fluid easily. And the next reason is where this starts showing up in the most innocent meal of the day. Reason 3. It often joins a breakfast that is already stacked against you. We need to talk about breakfast, because this is where dried fruit quietly slips into a perfect storm. Picture a very normal morning. A bowl of granola or instant oatmeal, a spoonful of honey, some flavored yogurt, maybe toast on the side, then a sprinkle of raisins or dried cranberries on top, because, that makes it healthy. Each item seems small on its own, but your body does not experience them one at a time. It experiences the total load: fast carbs from cereal, added sugar from flavored yogurt or honey, possible sodium from bread or instant oats, and then concentrated fruit sugar layered right over the top. For someone over 60, with less insulin sensitivity and stiffer arteries, that combination can cause bigger swings in blood sugar, more hunger within hours, and a blood pressure pattern that becomes harder to stabilize over time. This is exactly why some people feel confused after trying so hard to eat clean. They are not eating junk in the obvious sense. They are eating foods that sound wholesome, but act more like a processed carbohydrate stack when they hit the body together. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a breakfast you genuinely believed was healthy, only to feel hungry, foggy, or strangely tired a couple of hours later? Drop a yes or a no in the comments right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps me understand what content to make next. Here is what is actually happening in those moments. When blood sugar rises fast and then falls, your energy crashes. You feel shaky, tired, or snacky by late morning. Then another quick bite, another sweet coffee, another healthy bar. That repeating cycle is one of the core reasons weight, waist size, and blood pressure can all start drifting in the wrong direction at the same time, quietly, without any obvious cause. Most people miss this because breakfast has such a strong health halo. Oatmeal sounds healthy, yogurt sounds healthy, fruit sounds healthy. But healthy foods can still create an unhealthy pattern when they are processed, sweetened, and layered together without enough protein, fiber, and portion awareness. Ignore that pattern long term, and the result is more abdominal fat, more insulin resistance, and a harder time keeping blood pressure where you want it. Now we are getting to the part I teased at the beginning. And honestly, this single detail changes everything. Reason 4. The serving size is tiny, and almost nobody eats that little. This is the piece I really wanted you to see. The serving size on most dried fruit packages is far smaller than what people actually pour. Sometimes it is 2 tablespoons, sometimes a quarter cup. That sounds reasonable until you actually measure it. Then you realize the loose handful you just grabbed may have been 2 or 3 servings without even trying. Why does that matter so much? Because dried fruit is concentrated. When you accidentally double or triple the serving, you are not just eating a little more. You are multiplying sugar, calories, and often sodium. And since it is easy to chew, naturally sweet, and physically tiny, your brain never registers the excess the way it would if you had eaten 3 whole apples or 4 fresh plums. Here is a simple image to make this real. You are making oatmeal. You toss in a loose handful of raisins. It disappears right into the bowl. Looks like almost nothing. But measured out, that same handful may represent the sugar of an entire bunch of grapes, packed into a few quick bites. That is the aha moment. The issue is not that grapes are bad. The issue is that once the water is gone, your portion judgment becomes completely unreliable. This is also why labels that say "no sugar added" can be so misleading. No sugar added does not mean low sugar. It only means no extra sugar was added beyond what was already concentrated in the fruit itself. Your blood pressure does not care whether the overload came from table sugar or a very large dose of concentrated fruit sugar hiding inside a tiny snack. After 60, this matters even more. Less muscle, more visceral fat, and reduced metabolic flexibility all mean the same. Overeating pattern creates more damage than it used to. Think about the last time you ate dried fruit straight from the bag. Did you stop at the label serving? Most people do not, and that is exactly why they never connect the habit to creeping blood pressure readings. Ignore this for years, and the cost adds up quietly. More calories than you think, more sugar than you think, more stress on your blood vessels than you think. The final reason explains why the same snack can affect someone over 60 so much more sharply than it affects a younger adult. Reason 5. Aging makes your body less forgiving, even when the food looks clean. This is the part that ties everything together. After 60, the body is still incredibly adaptable, but it is less forgiving. Arteries tend to stiffen with age. They do not expand as easily when blood moves through them. Kidney function may be completely normal, but still less efficient than it was decades earlier. Hormone responses change. Sleep may be lighter. Daily movement may be lower. All of that affects how your body handles sodium, sugar, fluid balance, and stress. So when a concentrated fruit snack enters the picture, it is not happening in isolation. It is landing in a system that may already be managing borderline high blood pressure, less daily movement, or medications that make fluid shifts more noticeable. That does not mean dried fruit is toxic. It means context matters more now. Here is a simple way to think about it. At 40, you eat a sweet snack and your body smooths it out. At 65, the same snack can trigger a bigger glucose spike, more hunger, more snacking, slight fluid retention by evening, and eventually a harder time keeping blood pressure in range. Not because you failed, because biology changed. And here is the mistake many people make when they hear this. They cut out all fruit. That is the wrong lesson entirely. Whole fruit, berries, apples, pears, oranges, fresh stone fruit, often supports better health precisely because the water, fiber, and chewing slow everything down. Fiber is the part of plant food your body does not fully digest. It helps with fullness, digestion, and steadier blood sugar. In most cases, replacing dried fruit with whole fruit is not restrictive at all. It is actually more satisfying. That is the shift most people need. Not fear, clarity. So what should you actually watch for in real life? The little boxes of raisins, the sweetened cranberry salad topper, the trail mix that tastes suspiciously like candy, the bag of dates you meant to have just 2 from, the granola bowl with dried fruit layered on top of an already sugary base. These are the places where a healthy intention turns into a blood pressure problem, slowly, quietly, over time. And if none of this has ever been explained to you clearly, that is not your fault. Nutrition advice too often gets reduced to slogans. Fruit good, sugar bad, salt bad. Real life is more nuanced than that. Now you can see the real pattern. The form of the food matters. The dose matters. The age of the body matters. Once you understand those 3 things, you stop guessing and start choosing with real confidence. So let's close the loop from the beginning. The healthy fruit that may be quietly pushing your blood pressure in the wrong direction after 60 is usually not the fresh fruit sitting in your kitchen. It is dried fruit, especially the kind you pour casually, snack on mindlessly, or buy in sweetened mixes. And the reason 4 mattered so much is simple. The label serving is so small that most people eat 2 or 3 servings without realizing it. That tiny gap between what you think you ate and what you actually ate is exactly where the whole problem hides. The fruit is not evil, the concentration is the issue. Remove the water, shrink the volume, keep the sugar, and suddenly your eyes, your appetite, and your blood pressure are all working with misleading information. Once you see that, the rising readings make sense, and the fix becomes much simpler than people expect. Here is your most important takeaway. Do not panic. Do not swear off fruit. Just make one smart change today. Go to your kitchen right now. Pick up the dried fruit you already have. Measure 1 real serving into a bowl, just once. Compare it with the amount you normally eat. That one visual can change your habits faster than any complicated diet plan. Then, the next time you want something sweet, swap your usual dried fruit snack for a whole piece of fruit and a few unsalted nuts. or some plain yogurt with cinnamon. Simple, free, and far easier on your system. If you like health advice that respects your intelligence and actually helps you make better choices without fear, stay close to this channel, subscribe, because the next video will show you which everyday breakfast foods keep aging adults full, steady, and far less likely to see those frustrating blood pressure surprises later in the day. And if you are watching this for someone you care about, share it with them too. Sometimes the most powerful health change is not dramatic. It is simply seeing an old habit clearly for the first time, then making one better choice at breakfast, one snack, and one day at a time.